Got a boiler that's doing nothing. The fan started, that's a good thing. Because on the phone, this wasn't coming on. So now I just gotta make sure that pressure switch there is making. Or ignition module. So the fan came right on, so...
Did?
Yeah, so the fan runs.
Okay.
So now
I mean, it didn't sound any different than normal, so...
Yeah, because that's the fan noise right there. It's moving the air out.
That black thing is the fan.
Yeah, it's an inducer. So now 24. Nothing here. All right, no power to there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Everything, most things I work on are metal. Not everything, but most things are. Some of the high efficient boilers are made of plastic now or aluminum. So at that point it doesn't help too much, but you know, you can't have everything. That's how I look at it. An easy way to get in here. Always. That's one of the things my wife never understands is I'm cleaning up my stuff, trying to make space for other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm making a big mess trying to get everything out of my way.
Yeah, I was hoping I could do something with a phone and you wouldn't have to come here, but
Yeah.
do something simple.
I was hoping the same. That's why I was trying to talk you through it, but
Yeah.
a lot of times, unfortunately, it can't be done over the phone.
Yeah. The connections. I mean, it was working fine yesterday.
Yeah.
It was pumping.
Something has got it not starting up, and I'm not getting power over to the ignition module, so somewhere there's a switch open. There we go, and I'm not sure if I rattled something.
There you are.
Yeah. Yeah, it went on after I pushed on here to test it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this switch here is starting to fail. This ignition module, I don't have one of these on my truck. Well, it's not an ignition module, this is an aqua-static relay.
Yeah.
But it actually sends out line voltage to here. Not a lot of boilers do that where they're power drafted.
Yeah.
So the one I have in my truck doesn't actually control a line voltage motor. I mean, worst case scenario, if I have to, I could always wire it up with an extra relay to make and break that line voltage, because the ones I have put 24 out of here. This puts line voltage out of here. Or maybe it doesn't anymore. Maybe somebody had to modify. Transformers here. Oh no, they just moved the transformer up. Because mine, they have to send 24 volts out just for the burner section.
Yeah. I know something, I don't remember what it was, something happened with this one years ago maybe, like, with something, I really don't remember what it was.
Yeah, was it a zone valve? Because these usually need to get replaced every once in a while, but the transformer looks like it's been replaced and moved on top. The old one is on the bottom here. Maybe something happened with a short. It looks like somebody had to do something with the low voltage. Let me fix that. Where did that fall? It's always interesting how I could drop something under me and not actually see it. Always happens when I'm playing with my cars. I'd say I'm working on them, but it's more like playing because half the time I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be. Well,
Well,
I figure it out,
with
but
modern cars, it's less than
yeah.
years ago. Things were a lot open. Now it's electronic.
And jammed in there.
Yeah.
It makes it more of a challenge, but even all these new heating systems, they've done that to. Everything's computerized, everything's packed tight on top of it for efficiency. I just want to see when it hits temperature if it comes right back on, because to me this was the last thing I did, and by pushing on it,
Yeah.
maybe I caused where it's soldered to the board
Yeah.
to kind of respond. So, I mean, none of the other safeties were open. So let's just move this for a second. But I would, for now, I wouldn't, until I could actually catch it failing again, I wouldn't recommend replacing it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a cheap item.
Okay.
It's a few $100s, so
Yeah.
unless I can verify 100% that's what's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like rolling dice. You don't want to be rolling dice with your boiler.
Right.
Because there's no chance of winning.
They can't win.
You can't bring extra money in from it. I mean, you could get lucky and get the part, but I mean, right, but it's could also be something else is still acting up. So that's the only reason why I don't gamble around with parts like that. I want to verify and catch for sure.
Okay. Makes sense.
But right now it is working. But what I want to do is when it gets to temperature, let's see if I have any way to shut one of these off. Yeah, right here. So it heats your boiler faster. Which is the bigger zone? Your first floor, or that's probably your second floor, right?
First floor is probably bigger.
The bigger one? Okay. So the thermostat wire to here is this one. I'm just going to shut this zone off so it heats faster. Because the part that seemed to be causing the issue is the part that controls the temperature of your boiler. So when it gets hot enough, it shuts your boiler off.
Oh.
And then it's got to bring it back on when your boiler cools off a little. That's what this switch does right here. So this way
Doesn't it have to do with the temperature being reached in the room?
No, your boiler's going to go on and off
Based on
to the temperature of the water. Yeah, it doesn't want your water to boil. So it's going to maintain about 180 degrees. Between 180 and 160, it's going to keep cycling.
So if it's calling for heat upstairs,
It's going
if it's the 180,
it'll shut off the
for a little
burner
bit just to cool
until
down,
the water cools down a little.
and
Then,
then it'll go back on.
but it'll be on the whole time where it's moving the water around the house. It doesn't want to heat that water too much. So this way it's cycling the water in that range.
Oh, I see.
And I mean, right now we're only about 100, so that's why I figured shutting one of them off will help that heat up faster.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I see.
Yeah, less water we're trying to get hot. And the worst part with testing that switch is you're literally having to heat the boiler, cool it off, heat the boiler, cool it off.
Oh, so that's a waiting game. I see.
Yeah.
This is the temperature of the boiler.
Yep.
And this is
That's the pressure inside.
What's that supposed to be at? Anything particular, or?
It's supposed to be, usually when the boiler's cold, about 12.
Oh.
That's about 16 right now it's reading, and what I find is usually these things are not accurate.
Yeah.
They're close, but they're not that accurate.
Gauge.
Yeah. Over time they kind of... Sometimes I find with the boiler empty, they're reading 10.
Yeah.
So then I know I had about 10 to 15, as long as it stays under 30.
Okay.
That's the most important. Right now it's 20. If it stays under 30, it's good. If it goes over 30, this is going to open up the relief.
Oh, okay.
That's where that's set.
That's never happened, I don't think.
That's good. Usually when this little tank fails,
What's that?
That's an expansion tank. So as you're heating your water, you don't want the pressure rising too much. So that's what this is doing. It's actually, the pressure is kind of rising. It's got a rubber diaphragm, half water, half air.
Oh.
Yeah, so as it's heating, that kind of pressure is moving around in there, and that's what's keeping the pressure from rising unsafe. That's why once these fail, that little diaphragm gives out, all of a sudden that relief is just pouring water out whenever it's heating up.
Oh. It's by a sump pump.
Yeah, it'll trickle down. Yeah, there's so many safeties on these things. I mean, if that fan doesn't run, the pressure switch doesn't close. But you weren't even getting this to come on before.
I don't think so. It's on now?
Yeah, that's that noise you're hearing?
Yeah.
That's this fan right here.
Yeah.
If that wasn't on, it wouldn't be on. So it's forcing the heat up your chimney. Without it, there's a switch that has to make from the negative pressure it makes. If that doesn't close, it won't let anything else happen.
So that's throwing the heat up the chimney.
Yeah, that's what's pulling the gas in from your burners, pulling it up. Where your steam boiler, where's that?
Over here.
That might be closer to your chimney, so that might be natural gas, like a natural draft.
Yeah.
It's probably got an opening right here on it for the air to go in to just make the natural draft of the heat of the chimney.
Okay.
Actually, it doesn't.
I don't know.
It's drafting through here. This is where it's drawing the air in.
Oh, right to that. Okay.
Through here, it's letting the basement air kind of come in, and the cooler airs and the hot air from here is forcing it up. Because your chimney is here and they put the boiler there, they didn't want to, even though they ran it into your chimney.
They did. That makes sense.
Yeah, I guess you see how it's pretty level?
Yeah.
That's what they were afraid of, because they couldn't keep a good pitch on it for whatever reason. They were afraid that maybe they couldn't force the draft and all the exhaust into your chimney correctly.
Okay.
So they powered it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. Oh, this is an old one. That's nice.
Pretty old.
Yeah, you still have the old style low water cutoff that actually has like a float switch, like a toilet.
Yeah.
That has to go up and down.
I empty it every so often, and then I have to refill it. I have to check it. If it goes down, the whole thing cuts off.
Yeah. What happened to your gauge here? Oh my.
Well,
what?
Years ago, the thing
Caught fire?
didn't catch fire, no, but it overheated.
It looks like it.
The gauge didn't work. The temperature, the water went down.
Yeah.
And it kept running.
Oh, so your low water cutoff, because it probably had a lot of gunk in it, didn't drop down?
I don't know. It did drop down, but the safety valve didn't kick the machine up. Didn't kick it off. It didn't turn it off.
Yeah, because you can see this is all toasted too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not good, is it?
No, but it's not leaking water. It doesn't leak steam. So obviously, whatever happened.
That was a long time ago.
It's still working.
I don't know how long this will go for, but.
See, the thing with these boilers, they last a long time. It's just a cast iron block.
Yeah.
Usually the stuff around it wears out.
Yeah.
It has to be replaced.
It had to replace a few of those.
Yeah, it happens. The gas valve looks new.
Valves.
Yeah, that happens. But I mean, usually these things can last about 30 years, sometimes longer, sometimes 40.
Since we moved in, and we've been here over 30 years.
This has been here?
This is over 30 years. This was here when we moved in.
Nice.
This one we put in like...
That's from the 90s somewhere, right?
Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, because I have the same one, and my house was built in 95.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I kind of...
Yeah, because we did an addition and they did this.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the reason why I fired empty though was this device here, probably that float had a lot of gunk in it. Is that when you started draining it all of a sudden? You tried to make sure you like drained it weekly afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they told me don't let it get up. I have to get the service in for the winter. I didn't do that.
Yeah, you haven't done the winter service yet? Yeah. That's interesting though, because usually you don't see it all toasted up like that, like caught up. But I mean, hey, I'm just happy for you that you didn't have to replace it or anything.
Oh yeah, look at that.
How long ago was that? That's all sooted up.
That's a long time ago. That was like 10 years.
Oh wow. Yeah, because a wet rag would just wipe that right off. Just like you notice with your finger.
I didn't even realize that.
Does this move at all, or is that completely shot that gauge?
They never tried to replace it or anything.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to, that could be replaced.
Probably this would have to get replaced next. I mean, I have no idea how old this is. I guess there's a date on there somewhere.
Let's see if it's got a 1983 maybe.
Is it really?
Certified. It has 1983 as its certification date.
Wow.
Doesn't mean it was exactly installed then. It could have been installed a couple years later, a year or two. But yeah. Hey. It's working.
Yeah.
So that's all that matters. Like I said, it's just a big cast iron block. Okay. You're lucky that one time it ran dry though, it didn't crack it.
That's what they told me.
Yeah.
They said it could have cracked. And if it cracked, then
that's it for it.
That was it.
But it's still going, still cooking, still making steam and heating, so that's...
Yeah. It works pretty well.
Yeah. I think it's the best form of heat. Steam.
Really?
Yeah.
Steam?
I think steam's the best form. I mean, unfortunately, you got the hot radiators in the room.
Right.
When somebody new buys a house that has steam, they don't like the hissing sound always if they're not used to it. But you know what? It's actually kind of comforting when you hear those radiators and they're
you know
hissing
they're
a little.
working.
Yeah. It hisses, it stops. A couple minutes later, it hisses again, it stops.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes. The old part of the house had this.
But, I mean, how old is this house, the initial part?
1919.
1919, yeah. I know a lot of Ridgewood is like really old. It's all the pre-depression houses, and that's why there's a lot of steam here.
You don't find beams like this anymore.
No, you don't, where they're actually real size.
They're real size.
Now everybody cheaps out on everything. They shave like almost 3/4 of an inch off of it. Get a 2x4, but it's like 1.25 inches by 3. Yeah. And then they put cement on top to fireproof it. Yeah. Now they just put a piece of sheetrock usually.
That's it?
Well, it's fire retardant sheetrock, so it'll keep back in case fire goes up. I've never seen a situation where the fire gets that high off a boiler. Yeah. But because of that, you may not want to keep your paper towels so close. Yeah. I mean, this should be far enough away, but just because you already had the one incident, this is in a spot, and if this goes up, that will go up most likely.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, you don't want that at all. All right, so let's see, what's this boiler doing over here? That distracted me from watching the pot of water boil. And we're about 165, so yeah. 140.
Heats up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What temperature is water boil?
212.
Oh, wow.
So we're set for about 1. Okay, 190 was set. I'm not going to change it too much.
You can see.
Yeah. I mean, it's going over that according to this, but like I said, these gauges aren't always 100%. I mean, it does feel nice and hot, but you can't tell the difference between 200 and 180 anyway when you touch it. As long as you don't hold it long enough and the skin stays on. That one's off, so that's probably not hot. Because that's the return. Yeah, that's the return down from that. The supply is...
This says first floor, yeah.
Yeah, so we're off now.
It just did something.
Yeah, it just turned off on the temperature. This fan is on right now. Yeah. So that fan is going to end up stopping. Okay, so now I'm going to open this just to cool it off. Once that fan stops, I just want to make sure...
The fan will stop too?
Yeah, because right now you don't need your burner on. So that fan should shut off because the burner down here is off. Unless they wired it in a way when they did a repair to stay on. But I like that yours is staying on for a little bit. This doesn't stop instantly when... Because mine turns off right away, and then sometimes you can hear condensation dripping down.
Oh, is that what those little ticks are? Or?
Sometimes. Sometimes. I changed the whole piping on my boiler because it was 1 or 2 of my zones are really small. They decided to make one little room a zone, and then it heats so fast and turns off that I get a little condensation in the chimney if just that one comes on. So circulator 1, S1, S2.
So then the temperature has to go down before it comes back.
Yeah, where's it at right now? According to that.
180, almost 190, 185.
Yeah. Now somebody wired it for your pump, so this is going to stay on the whole time. They might have had to replace that aqua-stat with a different one. Let's see, B1, B2, 24 volts is coming out of this aqua-stat. Why they did that? All right, yeah, they have it going. As long as your pump's on, this is on, and it's just taking away the low voltage control power.
Is the pump on now?
Yeah, the pump should still be on. And you still have the original pump too. I just took mine off as I changed some of the piping to make up for the fact that one of the zones are a little too small. So this way,
it constantly circulates the water
the whole time.
I guess that's how it cools down too.
Yeah, it's still heating your house the whole time when it hits that temperature.
Right.
Now this is going to open this up and allow some cold water to flood back in to cool down the boiler.
Oh, it automatically pulls the water in that it needs.
Well, this zone was off, so it was cold. There's a lever on top. I could manually open it.
But the system's a closed system, right?
It's closed, yeah. So it's recirculating. But if
does it ever add water on its own? Or
maybe it really shouldn't too much.
Shouldn't, right?
But it might.
Really want that,
No, because that means you might have a leak. But that's what that is. It's a pressure reducing valve in the back. So if you don't have enough pressure on the boiler side, it actually allows a little bit to seep into the boiler.
Okay. So that's the valve there for the water.
Yeah, this is your backflow. This shuts off the main water feed for your boiler.
Right.
So now where did it drop down to? Let's see.
Down below 180 now.
Yeah. Somewhere down there. It should turn back on unless that switch is getting hung up.
You just touched it when it went on, right?
Yeah, I kind of leaned against it, and now it's coming back on, I believe.
Will it do that tick, 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 tick?
Yeah, it's going to send power to here. Then this has, what is it, a 30-second retry? 100%, non-100% shut-off IP gas. Doesn't say there. Doesn't say on here if it's auto ignition system. I know mine will keep retrying no matter what. Yeah. Unless that's been replaced once. Do not mount with this side down. Okay. Oh, if the boiler keeps cooling down, we know we got a problem here. Because that's the switch that does control the temperature, but we'll give it another minute or two before. We're probably at 140 now. Almost. This is probably hot coming back. Yep. Now we're getting power to the module.
Circuit.
No. No, that's what turns it on. So when that sends power out, it's going to go through, you got a rollout down here. First it's going to go through the pressure switch, which is connected to the fan. And as long as that it comes through here, this, if the fire comes out the wrong direction, shuts off your boiler. And then off of here it goes into your ignition module. Feeds a 24 right there. And we're not getting anything here, so even if I check here to ground, oh, we got power now. Shaking it around did it. Connected, nothing. And it goes to 0 once I connect it.
That's weird. Why would that?
Sometimes you'll read voltage, so you put it to the load. Because if we got power to the circuit, we should have power right here too. This should well, it'll read 0 here because it's going across the switch. And we got 0 there. But also nothing to ground. So if there's power feeding that circuit, it would come to ground.
Think it might be in there?
In the ignition module?
Is that
no.
what that is? That's an ignition?
Yeah.
Because you got power there.
I had power when I check bolt across. Yep. But then I lose it right here.
Yeah.
But I'm also not testing where it's not picking it up on the terminals that it's connected to. So it's not actually coming over here. It's kind of strange, but I would still get power on the terminal.
I know, right?
No matter what, sometimes
even without, right?
Yeah, even if it's not coming on, I would still have power, because right behind here is where they're plugged in, and I got them where I could actually touch the actual metal where it goes in.
Why would it? That's very strange. And the other strange.
And then this would read 24 if this switch is
working.
If this is stuck open. And I don't have 24, so. But look at that. There it goes back on again as I touch this.
It did?
Yep. It at least made the sparking sound when I did that.
I didn't hear it.
So that is strange, but there's something here when I push on this that actually.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
So this is what's keeping it off. You hear that when I'm touching it.
I heard that. It went on. It's not igniting.
No, but it's sending power over.
Does that mean it's...
Now it's igniting. And it went out or it stayed on. But it's something with here. It did stay on. I'm going to turn this off. So this way that water doesn't get as hot as everything else. Let's see. Where's the power switch? Maybe there's something with where it screws on, because it's got screws that hold it in place. Maybe they're not tight enough. They loosened up somehow, and it's preventing a good connection. And that's why I didn't just run once it came on.
Well, by just putting pressure on that, I mean that's
showing there's a problem.
Something up there is not.
Yeah, it's right here that as I'm pushing on this, that all of a sudden. But unfortunately, it's not. There's no replaceable parts for.
You gotta buy a whole thing.
Yeah. But that I have on my truck. So. Because they've already changed it to just operate the fan. I don't know at that point though if you'd want to put the correct one on. That's up to you. Yeah. But then I wouldn't have that on me today. But the one that actually operates the fan, so the fan goes on and off, doesn't stay on the whole time. That's the only difference. That I need a Torx bit. These aren't going to work. Okay, so I just got to run to my truck to get a Torx bit real fast. Because that's what's holding it in place. Unless, is there one here? Nope. Yeah, I'll get a Torx and... Okay. Alright, so let's see what happens when I tighten it up a little. Maybe there's just a loose connection on the board. I know the view's not the best today on this job. Not that loose. Not really. Just gonna snug everything up in here. Boom, 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 boom. Where's my little nut driver? Dropped it somewhere. There we go. That's tight. Burner wire's tight. Tight. A lot of pressure on here. bit top, but not the bottom. Okay, that's not moving. Put it back on. Alright, so this is 3 strike and you're out rule. Weird thing is that the switch itself is not at fault. And this time, nothing. But before it would bring it on. Ah, right here. Still sparking. On. No. Didn't make it. No, it did. Off. Let's do another. Let's get it out of here. That's not even going to travel with me, so. One out. Where's the other one? Still plugged in. Yeah, that's off. Disconnecting all the electric. Got pumps or fan. Just powers the transformer also. Boom. There goes the old one. Boom. Save that. Thermostat top. Let's see, this is going on the board. Power coming over. Line 1, L1. L2 are now off. Boom, 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 boom. Screws can come all the way out. I was always considering saving these and rebuilding them, but it's always the same spot that fails. Okay, that's a squeeze type. Disconnect the ground. And squeeze and left. Am I still tangled on? Line voltage out of the way. Need this. Thermostat. Get that out of here. Up and out. that. 5/16 in the back should be to come off. Where's my long 5/16? Lost it. Nope. This is the one screw to take it off. Right there. Push in, lower down, push up. Gotta be up. And hopefully this isn't wedged in there. Nope. Came right out. Sometimes there's a heat paste that dries. New one. So the lock works as you tighten it, pulls it up, locks it on the ring. Make sure this goes into the well. Gravity always makes this go in the way. Okay, good. Tighten a little more. There we go. Loosen every screw I need. Thermostat connectors. Pump is here. And line voltage is right under it. Whew. What they did was they spliced the wires for the pump and the fan together to make them both operate non-stop. Not a fan of it, but that's what somebody did. I don't have the same aqua-stat, so to give heat, I gotta do the same. Hacking it, what could I say? But they brought this from the top in. This from the bottom, thermostat from the top, I think. Tear that. So the thermostat comes through easier. I should do a replay, see where they came through, but I don't care. It's okay, transformer, line voltage was here. This is feeding through the bottom, and through the bottom. So, this was top, and the wire was dropping in. They didn't use a rubber grommet on the old one. Let's see what I got. Surprised this was just coming through. But it doesn't shake or move. C2 burner 2. I think I may crimp on connect it if I fight too much with that. Let's see. Alright, it's going right in. Yep. Plug this in. This comes up. So I still have these on the board. To remove. The reason you have transformers here is for the zone valves, so that the motors could get energized. But this goes to my circulator. There's that. There's one comes to the side. I don't want to hit line 1, and even though it's just a neutral. Okay. I wish the ejector pump wasn't right here. What are you gonna do? Line voltage coming through. That just clips. Neutral L1. Neutral L2. Come on, go on. Don't worry if you fight with it like this. I think everybody does on occasion. Okay, that's on. Now, pump connections. Someone mentioned the Astro light. Is it better than the Harbor Freight light? Because if it's better, I may have to pick it up. Black nut. Pull this. All right, one. Get these together, all together now. Here we go. Sure it's tight. Nope. Oh, it's got a little something in there. I don't think it does. Let's see. Back the solid wire behind. There we go. Now it's tight. See, it's twisting. Okay, tuck that back. Now, line voltage. Move the ground. There we go. Doesn't catch. Sometimes the solid wire's in the way. And there we go. Almost. Get the ground on here. And they were grounding this up top. Actually screw up. I'll find that transformer. That has to be drilled in. I lost the screw. Here's this. Here's this. None of them what I'm looking for. Oops, didn't lose it. It's right here. And they went on top. That holds the cover in. Alright, so I just got everything back together. Fortunately, I ran out of memory on the phone space, so nothing's in the way of that relay. Nothing's putting pressure on anything. Here we go. Powering that. Now we're waiting for the relay. Waiting for the zone valve. Boom. We're on. Sparked. Sparking. Okay. It lit. Now we're gonna get a full. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. Now I'm set. Always check this. 180. It was a little higher when it started. It was like 2 something when it was brand new. I always turn them down. I'm gonna let it heat. And make sure off and recycles. Where it turns off is the very important thing to make sure it shuts off where it's supposed to. It's the main safety of the boiler. So you always want to make sure that it turns off exactly where it has to. Well, yeah, what happens is if it's only 160, when we see those like 0-degree days, we don't have often, but it won't keep up at all.
No,
Your heat won't, it'll just never heat up enough because it won't be sending enough heat to your perimeter. But I mean, we're almost at that 180 mark now, so it should turn off soon. I've been slowly adjusting the dial just because.
Calibrating it.
Yeah.
The fan still stays on.
The fan stays on all the time, unfortunately, unless I got you that different one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's running with it's being energized with your pump.
yeah.
So that's not cycling on and off. The only thing cycling on and off is the burner, which is what you want. You don't want that thing to just keep cooking, boiling, because then you also fill up with air in your system.
Oh, okay.
And then the water can't go through air.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why the steam pipe, right? They bleed.
Yeah, and also.
These systems are closed.
Yeah, it's sealed. It'll melt the diaphragm in here if it gets too hot.
Okay, then we got another problem.
Yeah.
Back for another week.
Yeah, so that's why I never just quickly run, especially because I knew when I first got here, I got it to come on, but I got it to come on by actually pushing on something.
Right.
It didn't seem normal.
It didn't.
Yeah.
But then as you tested down the system,
it kept happening, and like right now, we shut off at right under that 180.
It did?
Yeah, it's off. There's no burner on now.
Oh, okay.
So it turned off right under, not as high, but I just got to move it just a little bit, and next time it'll cycle exactly where I want it, which is fine. So I'm pretty much done with it now. I can put this back together. I mean, that's why I've been playing with these, keeping them open, closing them, just so I can get cold water back down here. I switched zones to see if one was heating faster than the other, but they both were about the same. And now they're both going to be back on.
So by taking that wire, disconnecting it,
that's the thermostat coming down.
You're just turning the thermostat off by disconnecting it.
Yeah, so this way it's not going to energize the motor inside of here.
I see.
Because the way it works, it hits power to your motor.
Yeah.
When the motor spins open, there's a little switch over here. It pushes on the switch, and that's what turns on the boiler.
Ah.
Yeah. And that little switch is one of those things that fail. So what happens is the motor opens it, doesn't get the switch, but at least you get heat going through when another zone comes on.
Oh, okay.
That's usually the kind of failure with this, but I mean, and it's been going on every time it's cooled off. Yeah. So it's not like before where I gotta put my meter and push on it or any of that stuff. Yeah.
Does the voltage still carry through when you test the...
I didn't check that. There's voltage now.
I think it would, right?
When it comes on.
It would have to.
Oh, let's see when it's off. If I'm still getting that 24. But I know when it's on, I see 24.
Yeah.
And you actually hear a click over there when this wants to come back on. So let's... bring this over here. Voltage, and that side's in. Nah, we're not picking up that trace through here.
Weird.
Yeah.
It was working before, but this is off, so it shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be getting this reading.
No.
Yeah.
And
weird.
Now, what temperature is it? Did it cool off enough? I'm not sure.
Oh, it should go back on, you're saying?
Yeah, well, it'll come back on, and when that comes back on, then I will get a reading here.
Got it.
But it hasn't cooled off enough yet. It's got to get to about 140.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if I turn it down, it'll kick it on, but I want to keep it where it is because I've been adjusting it to get it to the right temperature the whole time. I don't want to lose the momentum that I've had.
No, don't want to.
Because then I'm readjusting it for another like 20 minutes to a half hour. Because every time it turns off, I got to let it cool, come back on.
Right. Wait.
Yeah. Boiler repairs are never quick, unfortunately. Well, if you open the system, then you got to get the air out. Then you're running water through, bleeding it out. But always want to make sure everything's safe when I'm done.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
It doesn't help the last time I cycled it, both of these were on. So the whole boiler's hot, not like I'm feeding cold water into it right now to help cool it down.
Longer for it to cool
yeah, because both zones are at the temperature. Let me just put a different...
Beer.
You could have a beer if you like.
I wish, but I'm not sure how anybody feels if I showed up to their house smelling like beer. So often it's offered, but while I'm actually working, I just say no, because I don't want to lose my job because of something like that.
Yeah. You got to do another call, you said?
Yeah. At least it's in Ridgewood, so it's not too far. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot what they said was wrong. I think something similar. One of them I talked out to wait till tomorrow because their humidifier wasn't working.
No, that can be.
Yeah, I don't think that's as much of an emergency. No heat, just not coming on. So, could be something like this. I hope not, because that was the only one I had. I can get one tomorrow. I mean, I don't want to bother the girl in the warehouse to open it up for me just to get one of those today.
I guess you try to carry around certain things. You can't carry everything.
No. And it's not like I go through aqua-static relays that often that I worry about making sure I have a whole bunch of them on me. I always put the date on parts I change this way.
That's a great idea.
Know how long they last. I mean, rare I gotta change parts I put in, but nothing lasts forever. And where are we with the temperature? Soon. I am wishing that I didn't forget to close the one because it was cooling it off quicker and bringing it back on. But it's got to get to 140, and then it heats to about 180. So it's almost there. It's like 150, I think. It is hard to see. And then you look at it from this angle, and because it's on an angle, it's like kind of over and not exactly where you're looking. I mean, it gets there. It's like watching paint dry, right?
Yeah.
We're waiting for that pot of water to boil.
Exactly.
That's why when we first started heating it and it was cold, I was looking at the steam boiler and doing something else to distract me. Here it's like, this is all I'm waiting for, is to see where it comes back on and then where it shuts itself back off to make sure it shuts it off where I want, so.
Got it. Sure it will.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it coming back on, it's just the temperature where it's actually shutting off.
So what's on now, right? Just the fan?
Right now the fan and the pump are running.
On the pump cycling.
The pump is running, yeah, with the fan. They both get energized at the same time. When the end switch makes, it turns these on through the aqua-static relay. And the burners are coming on and off according to temperature.
Right.
So it's just regulating how warm the water gets.
And then the fan goes off with the pump wind.
That goes off when you no longer need heat.
No.
Yeah, when you no longer need heat. Yeah, the thermostat's controlling that, yeah. There we go, we're back on.
Look at that. Right on the number.
Yeah, a little higher than 140, but I also turned it a little higher. 140 was where it was coming on before.
Yeah.
So now, because I don't want to be here forever, let's see where it turns off with just one on.
Oh, you think it'll go off?
Well, it'll heat faster.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm only heating one zone instead of the whole boiler.
Right.
Not like it heats that fast anyway, but... What is it? I'm doing your first floor right now. What is it, pretty much that one back area? Like
That's right there. That was the extent. Because what we did is we added that, the basement, the first story, and then on top of it. That's what we added.
Yeah.
And that's what this does. There's no heat in that room. You just stuff it later.
Oh, the basement? Yeah.
Even this room.
Do you get residual from the boilers?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah.
For all winter, it's fine down there.
Yeah.
I mean, because you get the water sat. In fact, I put.
Do you have steam pipes going through that part of the basement?
I
So
put
yeah,
the
you don't need...
insulation on there that works really well. So, I mean,
A lot of people, when they put insulation on, they complain they no longer have the heat that they once had in the basement.
Oh yeah.
Because you insulate it now, all of a sudden you trap that heat in the
Right,
pipe
trap it
instead
up.
of giving you another heat
Yeah,
source.
yeah. No, it is. There's no doubt. I mean,
But also now your water's also
it's
not,
the most efficient,
but you're not losing your heat down here.
Right.
So it's not condensing and cooling off before it gets to the radiators. Halfway there.
The pilot light's on now, right?
Now the pilot's burning, yeah. I'm not worried about it coming back on now at all.
Right.
It's done it every single time.
Goes off once it gets the number.
Yeah, once I got it to where I want it to be.
And here's that flip.
Almost. Nothing else has come in, but it's also beautiful outside.
It's such a really nice day. That's right.
I was looking
Lucky
forward
it's not
to
really freezing.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it being nice out, not having to work, do a few things outside my house before anybody showed up.
Yeah. I woke up
Because it's been too cold lately.
It's really cold. I said, I mean, I can have it cool at night, but
Okay, we went back off.
did they go off?
Yeah. All right, that's good. Because it's right at that 180 where it's starting to cool now. And that's a newer room, so at least the insulation's pretty good in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because the biggest problem is the older parts of the house. If it's not warm enough, especially because you probably have a lot of plaster walls in this house.
There are.
With almost no well, you might have insulated them, but
Somebody blew some insulation in there. If you can open up one of the walls, you can see.
oh, the little pink flakes everywhere. Yeah, that's good.
Got the laugh in there. It's all plaster.
Yeah. There's a lot of times when I used to do the installation part of this, I'd be cutting open those walls for down runs, and there was just like a little piece of paper in the wall, like a tinfoil paper for insulation. A lot of them. Well, till next time, I'm out. This boiler's running, and I got to move on to my next one. Peace. I'm out.